Um, the title says it all. Only the scattered, exiled, dispersed will be saved. Now I talked about this. With Officer Hassad. I talked about this with Sergeant Yatab. I talked about this with Chief Priest Alazar. And this is a very, very smart angle to come from because they're watching us. If you guys don't know by now, Tawada Uriel Yasharali Yahabashim Yashabakata. If you guys don't know, right now they're watching us, the so-called Christian apologists, and they're trying to come against us. So your whole fucking precept pack that you have, excuse my language, but that precept pack that you have, you got to update it with new precepts. Same message, same sentiments, same vibrations, but new precepts that they're not ready to answer because they haven't heard it before. So you have to always update your arsenal. I mean, the bread and butter scriptures are always going to be great. The foundational scriptures are always going to be great, but you have to come with a new 45. Well, you can throw it at a 50 degree. You can throw it at a 47 degree. You can throw it at a 40 degree. But the 45 is a whole nother angle that your opponent was not ready for. So you just got to have different weaponry, different precepts that these so-called apologists haven't heard because they're attacking the truth. And we have to make sure we are up to date and on par with defending the Most High, his son, and our nation, which is the true nation of Israel, the ethnic descendants of Israel, okay, the ancient Israelites. So we are going to start coming with new angles, new counter punches, new onslaughts, okay, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Mashiach Yahweh Shai. So without further ado, let's pull up this verse. Oh, this is going to be a good one, y'all, through the spirit. New angles. We're coming with new angles. And tell that slimy bastard vocab to get a new kangle. Now, what we're proving is this. Watch the trick bag. Watch the trick bag that Christians will get put on when you do this. The scriptures are clear. Only the ones who were put in forcible exile will receive salvation. This is what the Old Testament says. This is what the New Testament says. So it's not a matter of let's just ask this question. Why is Caiaphas, Paul, James, the Torah and the prophets, why are they all saying only those who went into a forcible exile will be saved? It's a real trick bag. So let me share my screen. We're going to go a few places today. John 11:49. John 11:49. It says, and one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, you know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people. Who's the people? And that whole nation perish not. So the people, of course, is this particular nation, which is the nation of Israel, who at the time was only what? 3 tribes in the land of Israel. Now, here's where it's funny because Christians say that, you know, his death was for the whole world, not just Israel, or Israel rejected the Messiah. But here the high priest is telling the Pharisees and the rulers, we got to kill this guy. We got to crucify him because it's part of the prophecy to save the nation of Israel. So look what he said, verse 51. And this spake he not of himself. So according to John, who all Christians will say is of the elect and a righteous disciple of Christ, John is saying that Caiaphas was speaking in the Holy Spirit of God, through the Holy Spirit of God. So a Christian can't come and say, well, Caiaphas was being wicked. He didn't know what he was talking about. Because John, who's account this is and was recording this through his scribes or possibly himself, is saying that he was speaking through the Spirit. Look at this. He prophesied that Jesus should die for that nation. So Caiaphas believed. Why? Because Revelation 19, Yahweh, the Spirit, Yahweh Shai, is the spirit of prophecy. Jesus Christ is the spirit of prophecy. So he believed. That's why he was able to prophesy in the Spirit. Now look, verse 52 is key. And not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of God which were scattered abroad. Will say, look, it's talking about the nation of Israel, and then people scattered everywhere. Is that what it's saying? Or is it saying something else? You other nations weren't scattered. You other nations weren't scattered as a whole. What nation of people was kicked out of their land? Lost their identity? Lost their ethnicity? Lost their nationality? Lost their language? You other nations weren't scattered. You other nations weren't scattered as a whole. What nation of people was kicked out of their land? Lost their identity? Lost their ethnicity? Lost their nationality? Lost their language?
Chapter 11. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech.
You other nations weren't scattered. You other nations weren't scattered as a whole.
The whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And
you other nations weren't scattered. You other nations weren't scattered as a whole.
it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest
what nation of people was kicked out of their land?
We be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth.
Lost their identity, lost their ethnicity, lost their nationality.
And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one. And
you other nations weren't scattered. You other nations weren't scattered as a whole.
They have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Go to.
Lost their language, lost their...
Let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not...
Lost their language, lost their...
understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left...
so-called religion. Let's not even talk about it. Let's just prove it.
To build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. These are the generations.
That's what this lesson is inspired by. We're going to get into the Lytle and Scott so you guys can get your scholarship up. Remember, new angles. The average Christian, not even the average Christian, the average so-called Christian apologists, they don't know. They believe that the New Testament was written in Greek, but I guarantee you they don't have this. And this is going to prove our point. But the lexicon